Well, back again. It's Graham Little Knee Peter Pope from www.fightpharmacorruption. Go to my website, check out many of the archives that are still there. Some of the archives used to be on LinkedIn, but they've disappeared. A little bit of corruption perhaps there, maybe not, maybe just the 66 posts I had on LinkedIn just disappeared on their own. But anyway, this is the new segment called Corruption Spider Bytes, BYTES, and we're going to be moving pretty quickly through all of this, and lovely to see a few of you there. Thank you very much. So many of you have looked at the Facebook Live on Friday night, which is quite by chance, but not entirely by chance, that I was able to talk to Pauline Ireland. Whether I've received an email, I don't know today. Had a lot of fun and games with my communications over the weekend, and a lot of data being used, strangely, on my phone and on my computer. And then at one point I looked at my computer and I was actually having emails downloaded when it was definitely off. I had not had wireless communication and it was downloading emails. I've got it on video, maybe I should show that. So there are a lot of fun and games happening on Saturday and Sunday, and then Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock or 4:39 or whatever it was, lost my laptop and my wallet and my reading glasses. These aren't my John Lennons, $15 in the chemist. They're not very good, but I'm getting by, and lots of lovely people today have helped me out on GoFundMe. Thank you very much. And I've got a couple of possibilities with computers to lend, so that's great. So yeah, we'll just have to stick to Facebook Live, and I'll read my emails in due course. And we move on to the Melbourne Town Hall. It's on, it's on, it's on, it's on. We want to fill it with 2,000 people. We have got 3 panel sessions happening. It's Remembrance Day. It's a special day to remember. We're making it a panel of mothers now because I've been so angry at the way mothers have been treated. I've invited mothers to come along and share their stories, because many mothers lost their sons in wars gone by that we will also remember on the day. And there are many mothers battling around Australia at the moment with both their children and, in Tanya Hammond's case, her husband with the DTaP vaccine that I spent 2 nights with the Hammond family last week in Perth. There's horror movies everywhere. I'll be bringing them to you every day. I'll be interviewing mothers, hopefully every day leading up to the summit. There's some very, very incredible women that are going to put their names on the big stage. They're not going to get intimidated, all you people out there that love intimidation. I've chosen and invited, hopefully wisely and carefully, and they've already been intimidated so many times. So it's a very delicate exercise running this summit, as you can imagine. I talked to the festival organisers at Castlemaine to see the degree of difficulty putting these events on. So I don't have anyone on the organising committee. I've got no sponsors. There's very few people to heavy. I've already been heavied by Channel 7, denied me using Louise Adams, who I booked, the X Factor runner-up, and I've just watched the show again tonight, see what's happening this year. I'll tell you why Channel 7 have intervened already in the running of this summit. Brandy Vaughan's definitely coming. I've got Blair Henrick, the Paxil whistleblower. I've got three least incredible Australian speakers who are going to expose corruption right across the board. So if you've got a particular pet topic you want to be exposed, I think I've already got it covered, but you better ring me just in case, and you might be able to sneak onto a panel. We're going to have a panel in the afternoon with these people. Some of them will be talking a bit longer, but we'll have a Q&A, a bit like Q&A starting right now on Channel 2, no doubt. And there'll be a third panel where we're going to focus on having a royal commission. We want a royal commission into the way health regulators are being extraordinarily biased, and both in relation to the APRA practitioners. They're the ones, 600,000 practitioners registered with the Australian Health Regulation. Did I get that right? AHPRA, Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency. So not only that, we've got all the state-based complaints commissions. So we're going to roll all that into a third panel, subject to 2 doctors that have agreed to speak out. They'll need armed guards. They'll probably get 20 complaints, some mandatory complaints for actually appearing. But they've already got plenty in the past, so just add them to their pile. So you'll be amazed by their stories. And I'll have a special Phantom of the Opera rendition if all comes off, and there'll be a Phantom speaker, so you want to make sure you see that one. So go to Eventbrite, look up Summit Against Corruption. I'll be putting more detail into that as the days go by. I've deliberately left it a little bit late because the intimidators are out there, enforcers, let them come late and we can withstand the pressure. So we want you all there. If you can't come, I've got a section on Eventbrite. You sponsor someone else. You can tell me who you'd like to sponsor. If there's a particular person you've seen on the internet with their stories, or you might just be happy with us selecting that person that we think would benefit, and we'll put you in touch with that person as well. So I'm hoping we might get 1,000 mothers or carers sponsored to come, $55 a ticket. There's VIP tickets. If you think you're a VIP, well, you sign up to a free VIP ticket and tell me why, and I'll let you in. No questions asked. I should have a whistleblower component if you want to whistleblow. Maybe that we should pay you money, but let's just see if we can fill the room. So that's the 11th of the 11th. Moving right along, we've got an update on Minister Hennessy and her screenshots. We're not aware she's released them yet. I did have a bit of a go down at the Minister for Women, Fiona Richardson. I didn't do too well. Banished back to French Island and to see the Liberal state representative, Mr. Burgess. They don't want to talk to me much. But if we've got any mothers in Northcote, they're quite happy to listen to problems from mothers in Northcote. Now, tomorrow I'm going to focus on the media and see if they have got any of the screenshots. I think it's very important. The media are putting enormous focus on natural practitioners and people who publish in books and all sorts of communications websites. They're putting enormous pressure, the regulators, on the media to substantiate the efficacy of any comment made about natural therapies. Now, naturally, when I inquired of the ACCC, the Australian Competition and Consumer Council, I think I got that order correct, they said, look, they didn't want to put that type of requirement on the media or authors publishing mainstream information. So I think we need to focus on whether the media can report these screenshots. I'll just show you again for those that to hear the story on Friday where Minister Hennessy proclaimed that the trolls had shamed her and that the anti-vaxxers had given her online abuse. Now, there were about 7 or 8 tweets, right? It's like the one from Carl. Now, hopefully by tomorrow, either the minister will release her screenshots, or the media will release the screenshots. I've been in touch with people that are very irate at the way this media story was positioned on Friday. They've done an enormous amount of work to try and find those screenshots on the internet. So let's just see how that goes tomorrow. Definitely going down to the Herald Sun to see if I can meet Grant MacArthur. I'll ring early in the morning. He wrote the story, and just see if he's done the right thing and seen the actual evidence, or whether he's gone off half-cocked and written the thing without any evidence. So they're talking about the front page of a newspaper here. It's got to be some evidence, surely, that he's seen that resembles social media. So let's hope, for Minister Hennessy's sake, she does have that. Now, I wanted to cover also, I should also mention with the summit, by the way, all 79 Victorian councils have supported a resolution for a federal government independent commission against corruption. Now, we do have one in Victoria, so my view is that if there is no real screenshots that Minister Hennessy's got to substantiate her story, well, I think it's such an important issue she's raised. That is clearly a reference to the Victorian Commission Against Corruption, which is called ICAC in Victoria, ICAC. We don't have that ability with our federal public servants or our politicians federally, and that's a big, big reason why we need to push hard at the summit and put the pressure on the politicians. Now, let's just look at other aspects of corruption while we're here. X Factor show, for those that are not aware, ends up after about 10 episodes having a winner of the best singer. Now, last year there was a very spirited contest, and I never watched it before, but I thought it was important to see what the young people, I'm getting a bit old at 61, still like music, but I thought I'd better watch it, and I absolutely couldn't believe Louise Adams, the voice she had. Mother of a baby, probably only about one now, might have just turned one. I met her at the tennis just recently in February or whatever it was, and I engaged her to sing People Help the People at the summit against corruption, opening the summit, because that's the theme. We can't wait for government, we've got to help each other. And the manager came back the next day and said, mate, 100% in, I'll get you her details and you can communicate directly with her. So I thought, eureka. That was the Friday. On the Monday, I get the call, or it was an email, sorry, no can have Louise Adams. And, well, what about the other 13 on your books? No, thank you. And then what about if we shifted the date? No, I'm sorry. So that all stems back, I suspect, to a post I put up on LinkedIn. I better dig it out. If it was one of the ones that was stolen off LinkedIn, but it could be on my website, www.fightpharmaccorruption.com, or it could have been on my laptop just stolen, and I'm hoping tomorrow it's on my backup. So I don't think that's been stolen. So I want to see what I wrote about the X Factor last year, because I thought the actual voting scheme was potentially corrupt, because it's presented as if you vote the viewer and you give the money on your SMS to the show, whoever's behind the show, and you think it's one vote, one person. Well, the reality was I put $10 on the table and I got something like 49 votes. So I suddenly realised that this show's owned by Simon Cowell. I mean, I'm not saying he's interfering with the voting process. All I'm saying is it's nothing to do with votes. It's how much dollars are put on the table. And it would be open to anybody to put a large sum of money on the table to swing who gets the key recording contract out of the X Factor. Now, naturally, I got no reply from Channel 7 back then, and 3AW refused to entertain me for 3 days on every talkback radio segment I waited on. And naturally, Channel 7's their biggest advertiser, so I never got to push that particular issue. So Channel 7's getting me back for raising a corruption potential in their own voting scheme, and denying Louise Adams to come to the town hall. Well, I've still got about, how many days left, guys? I think about 17. I'm still going to try and see if we can get her. So let's move on. Next on the topic is, success. Can this work? Last year, I'm very late to the vaccination debate. If anyone wants to label me as an anti-vaxxer, well, good luck. I've been focused on significant health issues for probably 12 years without even thinking about vaccination. I'm going to show you what a horror movie was probably 18 months ago, when my mother was put in a nursing home, and within a record time she's in a wheelchair. And then I found out 8 drugs later, 2 of them were antipsychotics. Now, I went directly to the TGA, Therapeutic Goods Administration, and couldn't really see anything there. And then in the US, I looked at the US equivalent, and have a look at this drug. I'm going to show you. Okay. Now, this is from the US. Now, this is an antipsychotic drug fed to nursing homes to dementia patients like lolly water. The warning in the US says increased mortality in elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis. See full prescribing information for complete boxed warning. Elderly patients with dementia psychosis treated with antipsychotic drugs are at an increased risk of death. Risperdal is not approved for use in patients with dementia-related psychosis. Now, it's hard to believe that Risperdal always got approved in Australia from about the same time as that warning was required in the US. It's around about 2004. I'll have to double check. A while since I raised this with our government, and the bottom line was that they always approved it and they never required the death warning. Now, this was a shock to all of us. They still don't require the death warning, and luckily after 10 weeks of intense discussion, and I'll show you some of the correspondence in the days to come with the Health Minister federally, Susan Ley, and the Minister of Environment, Mr. Greg Hunt, who now is the Minister for Science. So that could be pretty interesting now he's Minister for Science, because there's a bit of a debate about science on the front page of the Herald Sun. So Greg, unfortunately, I let him off during the federal election. You were waiting for me to come. I'll be coming now on Risperdal and also what's been happening with the immunisation handbook and some particular issues about science. So the good news is the government, while Greg was on his walk for autism, which I walked 7 of the 14 days with Greg and his staff and all the people walking, including Daryl Summers. Hi to Daryl down there in my old hunting ground at Shoreham. Daryl's a lover of comfrey, which is another poison according to the health department, but it's never poisoned me, and the legs are going pretty well. So Daryl remembered it from his wife's ballet days, actually, so I got him some oil. But anyway, bottom line was after 2 weeks of walking with Greg, and I think he was pretty sick of me, and I don't blame him. I can be a bit persistent. He got some help with Graham Samuel, and 3 days later they banned Risperdal for my mum's condition, which was vascular dementia, like a mix between, vascular dementias where they're getting a lot of mini strokes. So you can imagine what Risperdal does. It's already causes strokes, and you've already got a precondition. It's like, I can't be too callous, but it's sick, really. And they also ban it for mixed dementia, which is a gap between, or a mix of Alzheimer's condition and also vascular dementia. So they did restrict it for Alzheimer's down to about 10 weeks, I think, or it could have been 12 weeks. There's a lot more to go on this story. I basically let go at that point, but there's another big cover-up that happened back then, and it will be released either in my talk at the summit. I think I better wait for the summit. Got to have something to talk about. I'm sure there'll be a lot more. The phones are running pretty hot. The computer emails I can't read, guys, until I get another computer. So you can PM me. I can still look at PMs, and you can still get me on WhatsApp. My son in Copenhagen's trained me on that. WhatsApp, the ministers are using, because it's encrypted. So if you want to send a message to me and a late addition to a panel that might want to throw some light on some truth, I know that's a worry for government. They don't really like the truth, but you might have someone, and we might find another Risperdal that we can work on. Now, vaccination numbers is the next thing. This is quite extraordinary that I found in time my own vaccination card. Graham Little, back in East Bentley, and there's smallpox in 61. Now, I was born in 55. I was nearly 6 then, just about to turn 6. There's the CDT booster, also in 61. And over here, what do we got there? polio, I was 9. Unbelievable. So now we pile the kids. Well, we're at least doing a couple of vaccinations. That wasn't the one I wanted. This is the US one, which Brandy Vaughan will be talking about, and you can safely assume whatever they're doing there, we're rapidly following, and sometimes we invent our own best clinical evidence, you know, much to the poor guinea pigs. But there's back in 1983, there were 24 childhood vaccinations in the US, and then in 2016 there's 72. So that's a bit of a jump. There's 270 new vaccines, and Brandy says there's 132. I might have that wrong. I'll have to look at a website. That's learntherisk.org. 132 on the adult vaccination register that they want adults to have. That's supposed to be 100% mandatory US in 2020. So we're talking 4 years away. Adults having 100 vaccinations when I have, looks like I only had 3. So a lot of people that are my age say, oh, I didn't have any problem with vaccination. Well, we didn't have a Hep B on day 1 and a vitamin K, and our mum's having a whole stack during pregnancy, totally untested. We didn't have 8 on one day at 2 months of age, and we certainly didn't have another 8 when we're 4 months and another 8 when we're 6 months. And if you're unlucky enough, you know, to be in the catch-up, they'll give you 10 on one day. Why not? You know, let's have a crack at 10 in a day. I mean, someone might live, and, you know, maybe there won't be many adverse events, and we don't report them anyway, so no one will find out even if there are. We're not allowed to report them. So, you know, adults like me have got to realise, guys, the game's changed. It's nothing like what happened with us. We got very few. We got them much later when our immunity was much stronger, and your grandkids is just, it is out of control, Thank you, Georgia. We need your help, that's for sure. Let me finish on tomorrow's events. You better tell me where you'd like me to be. I haven't got a bus, but by the way, I've had a discussion. Have a listen to this, guys. I might be going on GoFundMe for a bus that is an amphibious bus. Could you imagine having a 15-seater bus we could get on? We could have groups of us going all around the country, and we could get onto lakes, we can get onto islands. It goes 100k on the road, it'll go 60k on the water, and we could be duplicating what's happening with the Vax team, but extending it. I want to extend this whole thing to drug combinations, right up to elderly people in nursing homes getting 10 or 12 drugs, never tested. I want to look at the whole Ritalin ice connection, which I know a lot about. I want to look at the autistic boys growing breasts. Is there any mothers that have got autistic children that are growing female breasts? Obviously the males I'm talking about. That is big in the US. There's a lot of litigation. That's a topic that's been buried as well in Australia. We want all the suicide issues. We want the methadone program. Wait till I tell you what the Cochrane Review says about that. Friends of Science in Medicine, wake up out there, wake up. I haven't forgotten you. I've just had other things to do. You're wondering if the summit's going to be on. You better come along and see what we say. There's going to be a big diagram of how you fit in, Friends of Science in Medicine, and all the lads in the Institute of Science in Medicine, and have a close look at my post early today, how they've infiltrated the CDC, another organisation, and all you little not-for-profits, I'm on to you. You were silly appointing Ken Harvey as the Consumer Advocate Forum. We're right on to you guys, so there's going to be a lot revealed at the summit. I've got to leave some powder dry, but we will be all over the Friends of Science with the methadone program and Risperdal and other major issues that have been buried. So tomorrow I'm hoping to be with the media people, see if they're prepared to comment. We may even go and see the chief scientist, because the chief scientist should be aware of, and I'll just get this up again. This is the biggest time bomb If you don't believe the William Thompson story, this is going to blow the CDC apart. These are the 12 or more whistleblowers that wrote last week about their concerns about the current state of affairs. I've put this up on Facebook. Anybody wants another copy, perhaps if someone could put it on my Facebook now. And it appears our mission is being influenced and shaped, let me see if that'll work, by outside parties and rogue interests. It seems that our mission and congressional intent for our agency is being circumvented by some of our leaders of the CDC. Could this be happening at the NHMRC, Professor Kelso? Oh, and all those lovely names that I've got in the immunisation book. What concerns us most is it is becoming the norm, and not the rare exception, Minister Hennessy. Others see it and turn the other way, Minister Hennessy. Some staff are intimidated, oh my God, just like Minister Hennessy, and pressed to do things they know are not right. We have representatives from across the agency that witness this unacceptable behaviour. It occurs at all levels and in all of our respective units. These questionable and unethical practices threaten to undermine our credibility and reputation as a trusted leader in the whole wide world of public health. We would like to see high ethical standards, is it? Yes. And the thoughtful, responsible management restored at the CDC and the NHMRC. Where are those anonymous people in the NHMRC in Australia? Anonymously come out now and speak to me or anyone else you've got confidence. We need a letter like this in Australia now, please. Do your part to help clean up the house, because the house is absolutely, I won't swear, I've got to be civil. We're now flipping to Australia. This is, in my opinion, a fraudulent book. I've got to prove it is. 10th edition. Who approves it? Any shredding of documents, I hope there's witnesses. It didn't help shredding anything with William Thompson. Someone will keep the documents, whatever is getting shredded. Let's just look at this page first. This is Australian Government National Health Medical Research Council. These guidelines were approved by the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, of the National Health and Medical Research Council, 2013. Minor amendments. They keep changing them as well and approving them along the way. And they were done under Section 14A of the National Health and Medical Research Council Act. In approving these guidelines, wait for this comment, the NHMRC, that's a council of many men and women, considers that they do meet the NHMRC standard. You've got to be joking. For clinical practice guidelines, this approval is valid for 5 years. My God, what an abortion of a statement, because I don't think anybody's read this. I can't find a doctor. You only need to go to page 3, guys. You don't need to read much of this book. You can get it on Immunise Australia website. Go to page 3 and read. The first edition of the Australian Immunisation Handbook was published in 1975. Due to its longevity, that's not very long, scope and complexity, the handbook does differ from other NHMRC guidelines. As such, recommendations contained in the handbook do not contain, Minister Hennessy, formal levels or grades of evidence or evidence tables. Even the grades of evidence we did in the last handbook for 3 newly vaccine preventable diseases, the HPV, the rotavirus owned by Dr. Offit, and herpes zoster, that were included in the 9th edition, and its electronic amendments have now been removed. So they did actually tell you, getting too excited here, sorry, when you lose your computer you sort of get a bit rattled, but not too rattled, just warming up. So even In the ninth edition, they told you the evidence for the Gardasil and all these new ones was B grade, right? I've got to tell you, there's a lot of holes in the evidence, and that's why they won't tell you. But the big punchline, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to the guidelines, and I'll show you this probably the next time, I'll dig it out, they have mandatory guidelines, mandatory guidelines, mandatory guidelines. Look, I'm a lawyer. I'm a lot of different things. I've looked up mandatory. It's probably designed by a man, I don't know. They've just ignored them. How do you ignore mandatory guidelines and not even mention that there are mandatory guidelines? It's a joke. It's a joke. Have a look. I've got to show you, someone remind me if I forget. I think we might try the next one. We might look at what the NHMRC did to all you natural practitioners, and I'll show you what the mandatory guidelines are tomorrow night, okay? And you see the alarming difference. Yes, they differ. And it's just appalling the way they've handled the science evidence for the vaccination schedule. That forget your grandkids. I know all you guys, you know, you're in another world working your butt off. You're going to have them to go to the US or travel or drive. You better learn about what they could do on your body, because a lot of my mates are not travelling that well. 100 vaccinations. Sorry about that. We got a phone call. Yeah. So anyway, that's the NHMRC. I've spoken enough tonight, but I'm probably having withdrawal symptoms. I haven't been able to do any emails, but we're warming up for the summit. www.fightpharmacorruption. The Eventbrite's on that. It could be on this. I'll put another post up with it on Facebook. Or just type in Eventbrite and just go Summit Against Corruption. If you think you're a VIP, or you think you're from the government or the Friends of Science, or anyone who wants to come and spy or intimidate or whatever, you put down VIP, you can have a free ticket, okay? We want you all there, because I'm hoping to get 1,000 mothers, and you might have to sit next to one of them and listen to their story, which you're not prepared to do, are you? In any other circumstance, you just want to muckrake and spew out the vile stuff like, JC Big Ears, you've been pretty quiet out there, old JC. Where are you, Johnny Cunningham, here to stop the AVN? Yeah, well, he didn't hold back, did he, Minister Hennessy? And I've noticed you've been tweeting him in to stop the AVN. Well, what did the Stop the AVN spokesperson who stuffed up the last time anyone wanted to talk about vaccination? He was the main spokesman to put a spoke in the wheels. Well, he said about the head of the Australian Vaccination Skeptic Network, Tasha David, who had 8 children, he happened to say that he doubted the first 6 are all vaccine damaged. It's a tragic story, and I'm hoping Tasha will be back in time to speak at the summit, by the way. She finally woke up, and then the 7th and 8th child were not vaccinated, and they're very healthy. And John Cunningham, orthopaedic surgeon, registered practitioner with APRA, Epworth Hospital, Royal Melbourne Hospital.